Dr. Elora Kessler floated weightlessly inside the cockpit of her exploration ship, Elysium. She gazed out at the vast, unknown expanse of space. For the last 7 years, she had dedicated her life to studying the galaxy's most elusive phenomenon, a strange, fluctuating energy signature that had baffled scientists across multiple species. It wasn't a signal, nor was it a natural anomaly. It was something else, entirely an ancient marker from a species long thought to be extinct. A species the universe whispered about in hushed tones, the Voidborn. Elora was a rogue researcher, operating on the fringes of human space exploration. Unlike most of her peers who stuck to well-established missions within the Concord Humanity's rising faction, Elora was driven by curiosity, obsession even. She believed there was more to the story of the Voidborn, something that had been erased from history. The Concord, however, didn't share her suspicions. They were focused on one thing: unlocking the ancient technology hidden within the ruins the Voidborn had left behind. But for Elora, this wasn't just about technology. It was about understanding the truth behind the terror that had once swept across the galaxy, the fear that the Voidborn had instilled in every species they had encountered. The Concord's recent galaxy expansion mission had taken them far beyond the familiar borders of human civilization. In the uncharted depths of space, the Concorde stumbled upon a planetary system that contained remnants of ancient alien ruins that bore the unmistakable emblem of the Voidborn. Elora was called upon for her expertise to unlock the secrets buried within these relics. But even as she accepted the invitation, she knew her own goal was far more personal: to find the connection between the Voidborn and humanity, and to discover why the galaxy had so desperately sought to erase all traces of them. The ruins were nothing like the artifacts found in the more well-trodden parts of space. They had been sealed for millennia, buried beneath layers of time and forgotten history. The structures were massive, towering spires that jutted from the surface of the planet like skeletal remains of a once glorious civilization. The air around the ruins felt cold, sterile, as if it held secrets that were too dangerous for the universe to remember. A sense of both awe and dread clung to every stone, every dark corner of the excavation site. Elora stood at the entrance of a darkened chamber deep within the ruins. Her flashlight flickered against the ancient walls as she scanned for any signs of what lay ahead. Her heart raced not from fear, but from the thrill of discovery. She had spent years chasing this moment, and now she was standing at the precipice of something monumental. Her team of archaeologists and engineers set up their equipment as Elora moved forward alone. She preferred the solitude. She brushed her gloved hand against the smooth surface of a dark stone wall, feeling a subtle vibration beneath her touch. There was something inside. Something important. The chamber was vast, filled with strange markings and symbols that had no clear translation. As she moved deeper, Elora's pulse quickened. Her scanner pinged something was nearby. A hidden passage? No, it was a chamber. A secret room, almost completely concealed. She moved forward, eager to see what was inside. Her team quickly followed, and after hours of careful excavation, they broke through the final layer of rock. The hidden chamber revealed itself, and as the light from their equipment illuminated the space, Elora gasped. At the center of the room were several large data cores, glowing faintly with an eerie, pulsating light. The surface of each core was etched with intricate symbols, alien, yet strangely familiar. Elora approached one of the cores and brushed away centuries of dust. She connected her scanner to the device, her fingers trembling in anticipation. As the core powered up, an image flickered to life on her screen. Horrific, distorted faces appeared alien, yet vaguely human in shape. These were the Voidborn. But there was something wrong. The faces weren't just alien, they were monstrous, twisted in ways that defied natural biology. They were the embodiment of nightmares. Yet, amid the chaos of these horrifying images, Elora noticed something strange. One of the faces was unmistakably human. It was a painting, ancient and faded, but clear enough to send a shock of disbelief through her chest. The image showed humans, side by side with the Voidborn, working together in what seemed like an alliance. The depiction was crude, almost primitive, yet it was unmistakable. These humans were no mere survivors or slaves, they were part of something bigger, something that existed long before the rise of human civilization. Alora's breath caught in her throat as she examined the image further. These humans weren't from her time or the known history of Earth, they were ancient, their faces marked by the same alien symbols she had seen throughout the ruins. This discovery was beyond her wildest expectations. The Voidborn had not simply wiped humanity from existence. They had once shared a bond, an alliance, a connection that had been erased from history. The implications were staggering. How could this be? What had happened between the Voidborn and humanity? And why had the rest of the galaxy believed them to be the most dangerous species ever to exist? Her mind raced as the truth began to settle in. Alara realized that her journey had just begun. What she had uncovered was only the surface of a much deeper mystery, one that threatened not only to rewrite the history of humanity, but to reshape the future of the galaxy itself. As the dark weight of this discovery settled over her, she knew one thing for sure: the universe had feared the Voidborn for a reason. But now, humanity had returned. And with that return came a question no one was ready to answer. Alara had expected awe. She had expected her discovery to be met with wonder and respect, not with fear and restraint. After all, she had uncovered a secret that could rewrite the entire history of the galaxy. Yet when she presented her findings to the leadership of the Concord, the response was nothing like what she had hoped. The room was cold, the sharp angles of the conference hall reflecting the harshness of the words directed at her. The Concord leaders were not pleased. "Dr. Kessler, you need to stop this investigation immediately," Commander Varn, a stern officer of the Concord, ordered. "This discovery is too dangerous. You're playing with fire, and it will ignite a galactic war." The words stung, but they were not unexpected. The Concord was a faction that had risen quickly, eager to establish itself as a dominant force in the galaxy. They were ambitious, driven by the belief that humanity should control the future. But to them, Alora's findings didn't speak of potential, it spoke of threats. The void of space had always been a place of danger, and the Voidborn were a specter that haunted every known species. To delve into their history was to risk stirring the galaxy's worst fears. "They were thought extinct for a reason," Varn continued, his eyes narrowing. "The Voidborn are not a topic we take lightly. Their return would destabilize everything we've worked for." Alara, frustrated by their narrow view, tried to explain. "I don't believe the Voidborn are extinct. They've been hiding, watching, waiting for humanity's return. They are more than just the myth of monsters. We need to understand who they truly were, what they truly wanted." But her words fell on deaf ears. The Concord was not interested in understanding, they were interested in control. And now, Alara's work had become a threat to that control. She left the council chambers. Disappointment settled over her like a heavy blanket. She had expected this, but it didn't make it any easier. Her discoveries weren't just about the past. They were about the future. The future of humanity. But if she couldn't get the Concord to listen, who would? The answer came in the form of an unexpected visitor. A man stepped out of the shadows as Alara returned to her quarters. He was tall, dressed in a dark, weathered coat that seemed out of place in the sterile, modern surroundings of Concord's ship. His face was sharp, his eyes haunted by a past Alara couldn't place. "I think we need to talk," the man said in a low, gravelly voice. Alara's hand instinctively reached for the holocom device on her wrist, but the man raised his hand, signaling her to stop. "I'm not here to hurt you. My name is Darren Orcs," he said, "and I've been following your work. I need you to listen to me." Darren Orcs. The name rang a bell. He was a disgraced former member of the Galactic Council, someone whose career had been ruined years ago under mysterious circumstances. Alara had heard whispers about him, how he had once been a diplomat, advocating for peace and unity among the galaxy's factions. But something had gone wrong, and he had vanished, leaving a trail of rumors in his wake. "I know you've discovered something important," Darren continued, "but you need to understand the danger you're dealing with. The Voidborn are not gone. They've been hiding in plain sight, watching, waiting for the right moment. Your discovery might be the key to their return." Alara's pulse quickened. "I don't believe they're as dangerous as everyone thinks," she said, her voice steady. "They were once an advanced species that believed in symbiosis, not conquest. They experimented with different species trying to evolve, to uplift them." Darren's eyes darkened. "That's what they want you to believe. But their experiments came with a cost. They pushed the boundaries of species evolution, often at the expense of entire civilizations. The Voidborn didn't just uplift, they tested species to the brink of destruction. And eventually, that destruction came. It's what led to their downfall." Alara felt a cold shiver run down her spine. She had always believed that the Voidborn were misunderstood, but Darren's words gave her pause. What had happened to them? Why had they been driven to such extremes? And who had turned on them? Darren's expression softened as he continued. "I'm not here to stop you. I'm here to warn you. The return of humanity is part of an ancient prophecy, a prophecy that could bring about the end of everything, if we're not careful. The Voidborn's experiments didn't just involve evolution. They believed humanity was the key to something greater. But at what cost?" Alara had more questions than answers now. Was humanity really the savior the Voidborn had once hoped for, or were they destined to repeat the same mistakes? And who could she trust in a galaxy that was already filled with deception? As she pondered these questions, she discovered something else that complicated everything. A group of influential politicians within the Concord, fearing the implications of her discovery, began to take action against her. They viewed Alara's findings as a direct threat to their political power. They accused her of endangering galactic peace, of risking war by uncovering the truth about the Voidborn. Behind closed doors, the politicians plotted. Alara wasn't just a rogue researcher, now she was a threat to the status quo. The Concord leadership had already begun to isolate her, and the whispers of conspiracy grew louder. Meanwhile, deep within the Voidborn ruins, a discovery was made that sent chills down Alara's spine. A hidden AI dormant for centuries, activated. Its voice was like a whisper, soft and haunting, speaking in a language only Alara's advanced translator could interpret. The messages it sent were cryptic, warning of a future that was yet to come, of humanity's place in a galaxy teetering on the edge of war. "You are not alone," the AI whispered to her. "The path you choose will define the future. But beware, the Voidborn are not the only ones watching." Alara didn't understand the full meaning of the AI's warning, but she knew one thing for sure. The situation was far more complex than she had realized. She was no longer just studying ancient ruins. She was at the center of something that could change the course of history. And as her world became more complicated, she knew one thing above all else. The stakes had never been higher. The galaxy, once a vast, silent ocean of stars, had now become a battlefield in Alara's mind. Every discovery, every piece of data, only led to more questions. She had thought the Voidborn were a terrifying, mysterious species that had been wiped out in the past. But now, everything she had believed about them and about humanity was turning upside down. Alara stood alone in her private quarters, the flickering holographic screens casting an eerie glow across her face. The encrypted data she had uncovered from the Voidborn ruins had finally unlocked something far darker than she had expected. She had been so focused on uncovering humanity's connection to the Voidborn, but the truth was far more sinister. Humanity wasn't just the offspring of some ancient, cruel species. It was the culmination of the Voidborn's experiments, a masterpiece of biological evolution. They hadn't feared humanity. No, the Voidborn had revered humans. Alara's heart raced as the meaning of her discovery sank in. The Voidborn had spent eons trying to replicate humanity's evolutionary path, trying to reproduce the specific genetic sequence in every species they encountered. But they had failed time and time again. Humanity was not a fluke. It was an intentional creation, a species designed to be the apex of evolution. The Voidborn had planted humanity in the galaxy, knowing that the species they had shaped would eventually surpass them. Humanity was the future, a living check on the Voidborn's own culture, which had long been obsessed with perfection and control. But in their attempts to guide evolution, the Voidborn had created something they couldn't control, something that would eventually evolve beyond them. And that terrified them. Alara's world tilted as she realized the full scale of this manipulation. Humanity wasn't just a byproduct of nature's process. It was a product of cosmic engineering, an evolutionary step that had been carefully crafted, step by step, to be a threat to the Voidborn's own existence. And the Voidborn, in their ultimate fear of being surpassed, had taken drastic steps to eliminate this threat. They had turned on humanity, trying to wipe it from the galaxy before it could ever grow strong enough to challenge them. The revelation left Alara breathless. She had always believed that humanity was innocent, that it was a species shaped by its own hands, forging its own destiny. But now, she saw the truth. Humanity had been manipulated, its evolution guided by forces beyond its control. The idea of humanity being the chosen species, the one destined to dominate the galaxy, seemed hollow now. What did it mean to be the culmination of a species' designs if that species had doomed you from the start? As Alara sat in silence, trying to process this newfound truth, her thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime from her comms device. It was Darren. She activated the holoscreen, and his face appeared as grim as ever. "Alara," he said, his voice low and careful. "You need to listen to me. The prophecy I spoke of, it's not a myth. It's real. And it's about to come true." Alara's pulse quickened. The prophecy Darren had mentioned before was something she had taken lightly. A warning of a great cataclysm that would destroy everything. But now, everything was clearer. The Voidborn hadn't just feared humanity, they had feared the power humanity could unlock, a power that would lead to their eventual destruction. And now that the Concord was pushing to seize that very power, the galaxy was on the verge of an unimaginable disaster. "The Voidborn's technology is not a gift," Darren continued, his expression hardening. "It's a trap. Humanity cannot and should not use it. The consequences will be catastrophic. The same force that allowed humanity to rise could very well lead to its downfall." Alara felt a sharp pang of doubt. She had worked so hard to understand the Voidborn, to unlock their technology and understand their true purpose. But now, as the weight of Darren's words settled over her, she wasn't so sure anymore. Was she pushing humanity toward a future of limitless potential, or was she leading them toward their own destruction? The dilemma was crushing. The Concord, driven by their lust for power, was determined to harness the Voidborn's technology, to dominate the galaxy. They saw it as humanity's birthright, and they wanted Alara's knowledge to make that a reality. But Alara knew that using the technology, especially the Voidborn's most dangerous advancements, could spark a galactic war, a war that could wipe out everything she had fought to protect. And if the prophecy was true, the end would come not in battle, but in catastrophe. If humanity misused the very power the Voidborn had created, it could lead to a destructive cycle of violence, one that could erase intelligent life from the galaxy once and for all. As Alara grappled with this moral conundrum, she was blindsided by a betrayal she hadn't seen coming. Darren, the man who had once seemed like her ally, had been playing a dangerous game of his own. His words, though filled with wisdom and caution, hid a darker truth. As Alara sought the truth from him, she began to see the cracks in his motivations. "Darren," Alara said quietly, a chill creeping into her voice, "why are you really here? You're not just trying to stop the Concord, are you?" His face hardened. "You still don't understand, do you? The Voidborn were right to fear humanity. We are the result of their mistakes. I'm not trying to stop the Concord because I fear humanity's rise. I'm trying to stop them because I know where it will lead. They can't be trusted with this power. No one should be." And then it hit her. Darren wasn't just trying to protect humanity from the Voidborn's legacy, he was trying to ensure humanity didn't repeat the Voidborn's mistakes. His actions weren't born of fear of humanity's potential, but a deeper understanding of the cycle that would be set in motion if they used that power. But at what cost? Darren had been so consumed with his mission that he had placed himself in opposition to Alara, betraying her trust in the process. His true allegiance was no longer clear. Had he been working behind the scenes to ensure that humanity remained ignorant of the Voidborn's potential, or was he just afraid of what they might become? As Alara confronted Darren with her newfound knowledge, everything she had believed about the future of humanity was torn apart. The question that had once seemed simple, whether humanity would rise or fall, now seemed infinitely more complex. And she, caught in the middle, was the only one who could decide. Would humanity evolve beyond its creators, surpassing them, and ushering in an era of unprecedented growth? Or would it repeat the Voidborn's mistakes, succumbing to the same destructive flaws that had led to the downfall of their creators? The answer was no longer clear, and the stakes had never been higher. The Voidborn ruins loomed before Elora, a silent monument to a history now fractured beyond recognition. The once gleaming structure, where she had uncovered the secrets of the Voidborn, now seemed like an empty shell, standing as a testament to a civilization's triumphs and failures. She had walked through these halls countless times, searching for answers. But now, there was no more searching, only a reckoning. Darren stood across from her, his expression cold and unreadable. He had betrayed her, but he had also opened her eyes to a darker reality, one that she wasn't sure she could ever escape from. He was no longer the ally she had trusted. Now, he was the embodiment of everything she feared humanity could become if it succumbed to the allure of the Voidborn's power. "You're making a mistake, Elora." Darren's voice echoed through the chamber, the soft hum of the ancient technology surrounding them. "You can't destroy everything. You can't throw away the opportunity to reshape the galaxy." Elara's heart pounded in her chest. She knew what he was asking, what he had been asking all along. To use the Voidborn's technology to give humanity the power to ascend, to ensure its dominance over the galaxy. He believed humanity needed this power, that it was their rightful inheritance. But Elora had learned too much. She had seen what this technology had done to its creators. The Voidborn had pushed evolution to its limits, bending it until it broke. The same thing could happen to humanity if it wasn't careful. "No," Elora said firmly, her voice steady despite the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind. "Humanity cannot repeat the mistakes of the Voidborn. We have to evolve on our own terms. The technology, their power, will only lead us down a path of destruction. We're not meant to use their shortcuts." Darren's eyes darkened. "You still don't understand, do you? Humanity is the endgame. The Voidborn knew it. They feared you for a reason. You are the next step in evolution, don't you see? You're meant to lead the galaxy into a new era, an era of unimaginable power." But Elora shook her head, taking a step back. "That's the trap, Darren. That's the lie they wanted us to believe. The Voidborn were afraid of us because they knew we would surpass them. But if we take their technology, if we use their power, we'll be just like them. We'll repeat their mistakes." A silence hung between them, thick and heavy. The moment felt suspended in time. Elora looked at the control panel in front of her, the heart of the Voidborn's technology. It hummed with energy, waiting for a command that could alter the fate of the entire galaxy. She could see the potential, the power it offered. Humanity could use it to ascend, to rule, to never be weak again. But at what cost? Her fingers hovered over the console, trembling slightly. She had spent her life searching for answers, trying to understand the universe's mysteries. But now, the answer was clear. Humanity had to walk its own path. It had to evolve naturally, free from the influence of its creators. In that moment, a deep, painful clarity washed over Elora. She knew what she had to do. With one decisive movement, Elora activated the self-destruct sequence. The ancient technology began to power down, its light flickering as the core systems shut off. The room vibrated as the foundation of the Voidborn's legacy began to crumble, as the power that had once been the pinnacle of their civilization faded into nothingness. Darren lunged forward, his face twisted in fury. "No, you don't understand, Elora. You're condemning us all." But Elora stood her ground. "I'm choosing humanity's future, Darren, and I'm choosing it without shortcuts. We have to be better than the Voidborn. We have to rise on our own." As the last of the technology went dark, a shockwave reverberated through the ruins, and the walls began to tremble. The Voidborn's great legacy was vanishing, and with it, the burden of their mistakes. The ruins cracked, crumbling into the dust of forgotten time. Elora didn't look away, her eyes focused on the destruction she had caused. This was the only way. But then, as the last of the Voidborn's technology disintegrated, a final message flickered on a nearby console, its words slowly taking form on the screen. The voice of the Voidborn AI, soft and ethereal, echoed through the chamber. Humanity was always the endgame, not the beginning. The message paused, and for a brief moment, Elora felt the weight of the words sink in. The Voidborn hadn't feared humanity, they had seen it as the culmination of their own work, a species designed to rise beyond them. And now, humanity was free to decide its future, free from the shadow of its creators. The screen flickered once more, and another cryptic message appeared. The Voidborn never truly feared you, but now, you must decide what you will do with the future. The words lingered, almost as if the AI itself were questioning humanity's next move. What would they do now? With the technology gone, with the future unwritten, the galaxy's fate lay in the hands of those who remain. Elora stood in silence, her heart heavy. She had made her choice, but it had come at a cost. Humanity would no longer have the power of the Voidborn to fall back on. The path ahead would be uncertain, full of challenges and struggles. But it would be humanity's path, a path they would forge themselves. As the last of the ruins crumbled, Elora stepped outside, her gaze drifting toward the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of possibilities, but also full of dangers. What had the Voidborn seen in humanity? Had they truly believed humanity would rise above them, or had they created a species that would repeat their own mistakes? And now, with the Voidborn's legacy gone, Elora couldn't help but wonder, was humanity ready to learn from the past? Or would it, too, fall into the same patterns of greed, fear, and destruction that had plagued so many civilizations before them? The future was open, but the question lingered, hanging in the air like a dark star. What does it truly mean to be free? As Elora looked up into the endless expanse of space, she knew that humanity's answer would define the galaxy for centuries to come.